Start as well.
Okay, our recess meeting come to order, please. And Chair's looking for a motion to conduct business.
Motion.
Second. You got to read. You got to say it.
You want a motion to go back into open session?
Right now on the motion, go ahead.
Come out of recess?
Executive.
No, I want to go into executive session.
A motion to go into executive session.
Brian,
You seconded?
Did.
Yeah.
okay. Madam Clerk, would you read the required statement, please?
Executive session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143 through 11A5 to instruct staff or agent concerning the negotiation of the price and terms of contract concerning the acquisition of real property.
All right. We are now in executive session. Let the minutes show there's no one here this morning except the staff and the attorneys. And, okay, Ms. Pat, you have...
I'd like to add to the agenda discussion and possible action on an ordinance amending Ordinance 2113, that being Ordinance 2134.
Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous to add that to the agenda. Okay, Ms. Pat, you want to talk to that? Or?
I move that the board approve ordinance 2134, an ordinance amending 2113 revenues and appropriations ordinance for fiscal year 2122, amendment number 8. This will adjust the fund balance, $850,000 decrease, the expense related to property access acquisition.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Okay. I do have a follow-up question on the fishing pier closing date. What is the status on the closing date? Is it?
It's still, we have the contract, I don't have it, right in front of me, I can pull it up real quick, but as far as.
I know it was on or before January 17, I believe.
It's February.
Is it February now? That's the question, and not.
Sometime in February.
Yeah, you know, and we could always move it back if we're ready to close prior to then, but.
And that's where I'm going. Because, as Mr. Murdoch and others have mentioned, if somebody's going to do any work down there, whether it's the town or somebody that rents the place or whatever, they're going to have it ready for the summer. And you get over into starting in February to get a contract with somebody, and then by the time they get a contractor to agree to do the work, get the permits and everything, then that's another month or 6 weeks. Then you're over into March or April or May before they start work. They're not going to be ready for the summer.
Yeah, but remember, this is being driven by getting the funding lined up and going to LGC, and that's why it was moved back to February. So that was David's best guess at the fastest schedule possible.
Yeah, and I think David said there were some alternatives.
What was the date on that?
February 28th is our closing date.
David, going to the LGC, is there any, what is the dates for that and when?
There's a 60-day time period for that application, so January, December. That's got to get there prior to that for February 28th. That's what, December 28th. And then there's an informal meeting that has to take place between now and the 28th There's a bank solicitation that has to happen. I mean, that's, the February 28th was the date that was picked in order to scale and scope that financing into that window based on the due diligence closing as of Friday. So, and like I said the other night, if we advance that, I mean, what are we talking about advancing the closing date to? Basically, are you talking about advancing the closing date before the end of the year for tax purposes? I mean, is that what the real question is? Because I can't get a financing done before the end of the year. I mean,
When can you,
I'm gonna stick to, if you wanna finance it, the February closing date, is what you gotta go with, because, that LGC meeting is in the beginning of February. It's not, you don't, the closing date, I think that what we're really talking about is the March meeting, because we've got the clause that says in there that it's contingent on local government commission financing.
We do a LGC approval, and then also within your standard contract is that 14-day window you have as well.
And the LGC meeting is really in March, like the first week in March. So, I mean, that's what you're working with as far as financings.
I remember at one time you said something about, you know, we do have the funds, we could write the check, pay ourselves back. But my concern is if sit there and miss the summer, well, without the income from the building or the pier.
That may be true, but I'd be a lot more concerned about LGC not appropriating the funding, and we wouldn't have the money to actually pay for it. Right? I mean, we just went through it. David says that the meeting by LGC is actually in March. We shouldn't be closing before we get the appropriate authorizations from LGC for the financing.
Well,
It's
but
just a fact of life.
we factored that in with the 14-day window.
Right.
That's what it is, so,
It makes no difference to me personally.
It is what it is.
But
There's always a risk.
if what the question is can you front the money before the end of the year on a cash basis and then pay yourself back with a loan at the March meeting? If that's the scenario that you want to entertain, I think you could do that. But I've got to look at the budget to make sure that you got the wherewithal to do that.
It's too risky.
Keep it just like it is, closing fee.
We'll do what we can.
all right. Hearing no motions, is there a motion we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Mr. Brown made it, and Mr. Bryan seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous to adjourn.